day, y'all. I'm gonna service this 2021 and newer Fox Transfer, aka Race Face Turbine R dropper post. So I took it off the bike. I'm gonna start by removing this. Be careful, if this is tight, you'll need to undo this clip and pull out this pin so you can get a better grip on here. Because here, you know, I just went over the clip. But if it's tight, this can break. So slide it down, pop out this bottom circlip that holds your massive beer belly, and then expose this. There's a little ball bearing here. I like to come in and put a tiny scratch, a mark against it. So if you lose it, or if it falls out, you know where to put it back and you don't need to putz around with it. Now we need 8mm shaft clamps. This is a Fox Forks number 2 kit. There are lots of shaft clamps available, various brands, various people. You just need the 8mm one for this. There are some wrench flats here. Get on there. Boom. Pull this out. Boom. Okay. Now, if I was doing, this is a loaner post for the shop, so I don't really care about it that much. But if I was doing a post for an actual person, I would clamp the bottom in a stem, a beater stem. Because this is a 30.9, the stems are 31.8, and they fit okay enough that you can clamp it and just clamp the stem in the vise, and then go from there. But if you don't have that, I'm gonna do it the ghetto way, because it's very tight. Okay. I mean, you're compressing this onto the threads as you're unthreading it, so that's probably why. But as you're unthreading this, there is a little O-ring that will pop out. Just pull that out, or wait for it to get fully exposed. Sometimes it catches on the last thread. Okay, pull this off. Now this is a step you want to do carefully. Okay. So you're using the brass keys to push this, to top out the post and push out this bushing, which sits in here. And then remove these brass keys. I'm told there's a thing at Fox, they remove one of them and then you only use 2 of them for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why, but I never do it and it's fine.
It's for when in a frame, if you do have the seat collar and it's too tight and the post binds,
Oh, okay.
you take one out so that it doesn't bind.
Okay.
If you have a bindy seat post, take one key out. Good to go.
Okay, there you go. The cameraman knows more about it.
Only if you're bottoming out the seat post in the frame, though.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a little higher. It's fine.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So wipe this out over here. You get a really good quality 1.5 millimeter Allen key. This is a Wera one. And the side with just the one screw is the release side. And the other side with the two holes is where you pump it up. So loosen that. This is where your air charge it is. Oh, come on. Taking a while. There you go. Boom. So now you need an M3 a screw. M3 by, I don't know, 20 or something length. I also shove in a pick into one of these holes and push this down to expose that circlip. And then you find the end of the circlip, rotate it around. Spin it around so the end of the circlip is by one of those holes. And push the end of the circlip into that hole. Or sorry, the end of your pick. Oh, come on. So that way you get under the circlip and pop it out. Have your other finger over top. Boom. So I need that screw. Okay, so here's that screw. Just gonna thread it in like that by hand. Or is this M4? M3?
I think it's 3.
Yeah.
It's 3 because it's hard to find.
Yeah. And then pull it out. I always set this aside with the corresponding circlip because there are a couple different sizes of circlips on here that are very similar. So now we take this tamper-proof 5/64 inch Allen key or hex bit and undo that. If the whole thing starts spinning, you need to use a Park Tool SBA 01 or something, 02. The red one. And that way you can hold this thing from spinning. So sometimes, oh, see that? Some residual pressure. Okay, it's being relieved. cover the top of this and push this down to expose the circlip. Do a similar thing here. I'm gonna spin the circlip around so I can reach under the end of it and drive the tip of my pick into these holes, one of these holes, and then pry this out. And we use this is just a threaded rod handle. This is, I believe, number 6 by 32 threads per inch thread. So you can use a bolt to do the same, a screw to do the same thing. So now that's your oil. It's too dark. I'm gonna pour it out. To get all of it out, you need to put this back in. Use this tool. It's a Fox tool. That actuates the post, and cycle it a few more times, and then I leave it in the compressed position, and push this out. Boom. So this circlip, keep it in one pile with the top cap. It's easy to mix them up. Now, there's another circlip in here. I just kind of push on the end of it and spin it 90 degrees, pops out. Set this aside. Yet another size. I don't know, actually. I forget which ones are the same size. I think it's, I forget. And then wooden dowel. Just kind of knock out this IFP. Set it aside with that circlip. Take a piece of shop towel. Now this whole thing you can push it through. Well, sometimes it gets stuck. There's a built-in circlip in there. You're not supposed to remove that. Boom. Clean out the internals of this too. So now we can set this aside and start replacing the seals.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to replace these seals. Wipe this out. I'm going to start with this IFP here. And of course, I'm using an MTB Hydraulics Fox Transfer / Race Face Turbine R 2017 Plus Dropper Post Service Seal Kit. So this kit covers the hydraulic cartridge. It doesn't have the bushings and your dust wiper in there. If you need those, just buy the OEM kit for a little bit more expensive. Also harder to find. But another thing to note here is making sense of this kit. There are 2 of these O-rings that are the same size. One is tiny bit larger. Then you have 3 of these small O-rings. The largest one is what we'll use for the 2021 post. These 2 smaller ones are for the older versions. We're gonna use that. We're not gonna use this quad ring, and we're not gonna use this either. And that's it. Yeah, those are the ones we actually need for this model year, which is the 2021 and newer. So I'm just popping out the inner and outer seal from this IFP. these quad rings, make sure they're not twisted when you install them. If they twist, just reach under very carefully, wiggle your pick under there, and drag it along, and it'll pop back out. Okay. So, very carefully guiding that in place. And I can put this back. It's hard to align it straight, so I kind of use the 5/16 wooden dowel. Press it down. Put the correct circlip in, and in the lower groove, of course. Make sure it pops in place. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna take this top cap, these two seals that are the same size, one of them goes here. Boom. Seal head. So the seal head, the way this one seals these gas ports is you have a set screw and a ball bearing. So there it is. I didn't actually need to remove this, so I'm going to put it back because this side, the inflation side, or the deflation side, we're not using anymore. So I'm just going to put that back. Boom. And the inflation side, the one with the two holes, I need to remove. Well, the ball bearing is stuck. So I just slammed it down on the anvil of the vise and it came out. I dropped the set screw, however. Guess what? We have a little MTB Hydraulics Fox Transfer Service tackle box here, and I'm just gonna take a new one out. But that's a luxury. Most people won't have that, unless of course they buy it, which they should. You know, it's gonna fund more of these videos. The more tackle boxes we sell, the more videos it's gonna fund. The way this inflation port works is there's a tiny hole here, and the air goes in there, comes out through here, lifts up the or goes under the O-ring, and it comes out the bottom side of the O-ring. So these two seals go here, larger one goes on the larger side, smaller one, smaller side, obviously. I'm gonna take out the center one. Pop in the new one. Boom. And that's the seal head ready to go. Now I'm going to take the top bleed screw this. Put the new one on. Boom. And lastly, I'm going to take this main piston clean this off. Very nice. Boom. That's it. And this will go in place at the end. Those are all the seals. One thing I didn't do while I was replacing the seals is address this collar. I like to take out the wiper, wipe this out. I mean, I'm not replacing the wiper in this case because it's in good shape. But I like to wipe it down. You know, if you want to replace the wiper, just do it. But, you know, it's whatever. Boom. 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 Okay. So this will go back in. Need to kind of aim it. Push this IFP. Put the IFP in far enough so you can actually find the center of it. And then you need to depress this so it doesn't build up air pressure when you extend it. Boom. So now you take the Fox 1.5 weight oil Berta, straight out of oil Berta. Do we have more? Mm-hmm. This might be enough. So, cheers. This is water. Just vodka. Pour in that little bit of vodka. That's too much. I like to kind of, you know, fill it up to around here. Put your hand over it in case it splashes out. Cycle at the bottom of the travel. So I'm just purging out any air from under the piston. Okay. Now I'm going to take this IFP setting tool and set the IFP. Make sure the shaft stays extended. So I'm pushing up on this and pulling down on the shaft. So this IFP setting tool, you can easily 3D print this. The dimensions are available on the Fox website for the important dimension, which is this. It's 51 mm, or 2 inches actually, because 50.8, which sets the IFP depth. Diameter 15 mm. I think ID is 9, yeah. And then this, the handle at the bottom is 28 mm. Thickness, half an inch. So anyone can 3D print this or buy it online. I think they sell like crappy 3D printed ones. This is a nice OEM one. I think it's made out of Delrin or something. Whatever. Some nice plastic. So Now, I'm gonna set this here, fill it up all the way to the top, and I'm gonna plop this in. In the process, the oil's gonna purge out. Cover this. I'm not gonna cover it actually, just for the show.
That was lame.
It was a mini fountain.
Sometimes it's huge.
Yes. And then pop in the circlip. So I'm gonna wipe this. This is the tricky part right here, because we now need to pull this out to seat the thing on the circlip, which introduces some air into the system. There are two ways to get around this. One is to top it up very carefully. But the problem is the surface tension of the bubble, it doesn't allow it to escape unless you poke it. So you need to kind of poke this, and all these bubbles come out. So I'm poking this and all these bubbles come out. So that's one way to do it if you don't have all the tools and stuff. Another way to do it is to get this MTB hydraulic syringe, and this is the Olin's and Fox bleed fitting syringe. Get this Fox bleed fitting, the 803-00-463, and come in here. I'm going to demonstrate both ways, just for completeness. So fill up this syringe. It's kind of hard to draw the fluid in here. So thread this in. This is like a proper bleed, as if it was a shock or something. So from the bottom, I'm going to come in with this IFP setting tool and push this out. So I'm kind of going like that. You cycle the oil. As you can tell, it gives a lot better bleed. But honestly, it's not completely essential, because the OEM manual shows the other way, I think. So there you go. No more bubbles are coming out of there. IFP is set, and this is also set against the circuit. So I'm going to remove the IFP tool, plop this plug back in. Doesn't need to be super tight. It's really easy to break these bits because the center is hollow. So I don't go too crazy on them. Just like that. It'll seal, no problem. So now, remove this. And grab this seal head, wiggle it on. We'll inject a tiny bit of lubricant in here in the IFP chamber, just like one cc of 20 weight gold or something. Even the 1.5 weight is probably fine. It's just so it's not running dry. Or if you're one of those crazy people that only stocks the 1.5 weight oil, which is the most useless oil in the market, then you can use that.
Could you use a thicker oil if you wanted? Like a 2.5?
Yeah, any oil really. I mean, it's
20.
it's not, you know, it's not, there's no like super fast movement or anything. So that's what I say anyway. I think that the OEM uses 20 weight gold or float fluid, whichever. I forget. Okay, so I'm.
For the damper though.
Oh, for the damper. No, I would use this for the damper, or for the actual hydraulics. So I pulled up, I set this down, put the circlip in, and then pulled up the seal head against the circlip with the screw. Now I just need to inflate this thing. So it's a little sketchy to do that. The shock, high pressure shock pump.
Under the seal drivers. Under the seal drivers.
It's 325 psi in these posts. So I always put the tool on the pump, aim it, set it into the hole, and then hold the two shafts together. Actually, so you're supposed to engage it. Have this tool in place like that, and now thread this in. Just like that. Super easy to break this thing. I always just set it down like that. 325. Very carefully disengage. Boom. Okay, so now, before I plug that inflation port, I'm going to test this. I'm going to unthread this to disengage it. No plate, means we have no air in the system. Excellent. So now, I'm going to drop in the ball bearing in here. Dropped it in. Sometimes it's a challenge to aim it. And I'm going to plug this back up. Just snug. And one thing I haven't done is wiping this out. Boom. So we'll take some SRAM butter or any kind of PTFE, SRAM dynamic seal grease or something, whichever you have. But basically use some good quality grease, because if it washes out into rise, then your post is going to be dry. And then use the grease to stick these brass keys in place. And then wiggle this on. Boom. Note the orientation of the lower post, front and back. And then I always stuff this part full of grease as much as I can. So then I'm going to use this collar to press the bushing in. And holy smokes, that was a ghost.
Ooh.
And these Nipex pliers are pretty important for this job. Not gonna lie. Aluminum fasteners, you know, these Nipex pliers are the way to go about them. Just like that. This is the new seal from the seal kit. Just shove it in here. Protect the threads. Protect water from getting in, rather. Nice. So now this goes on. Snug that up. Need to orient this. Ball bearing needs to be facing the back of the post. So grab that and spin it. Okay. Bottom circlip, the one that holds your massive beer belly. And then put this actuator back on. And if you get everything right, this slot will face the back of the post. Lastly, I'm going to spray this thing down with isopropyl alcohol. You know, like I mentioned, I would normally clamp these posts in a stem because there's some tiny marks here from the vise, but it's pretty minimal. And I wanted to demonstrate how to do it if you're a home mechanic with, you know, the bare minimum of supplies. And lastly, this. Boom. Perfect. That's it.